Catholic people, just thousands and thousands of people, just so enthused and following, and I think it was genuine from many, many people, this following of it. It wasn't sort of, oh, the Pope says it, let's do it sort of thing. I think it was a bit more than that. It was very uplifting spiritually, very much so, knowing that you were being guided and directed by the head of the church, the number one.
Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, I rejoice to be in your midst. Indeed, I rejoice that it has been possible for me to come to God's house here in New Zealand.
Photographs of the time show some members of the crowd took the religious occasion as a chance to demonstrate their political beliefs, alongside flags as some banners of the Polish Solidarity Trade Union. It encouraged protest against the government and was banned by the communist authorities in the Pope's home country. For Michael, who'd visited Poland just a few years before, it was important to show support publicly.
If I wore a Solidarity button or a T-shirt, I would have more than likely been arrested over there, because when I was there, I remember in 1984-85, the only place you would see Solidarity ephemera and things like that was within the church. But if you stepped outside wearing something Solidarity, you'd have either got thumped over the head or you'd have been arrested and ordered to remove it. We had the freedom to do it here, and also being so far away, we were showing our solidarity with the Poles who were still in the country.
In New Zealand, the Pope has called on world leaders to put out...
Well, in 1986, especially in his homeland and in Europe. But his message to us was to live in peace, live in harmony with each other, but also do not lose sight of your faith.
Michael's faith has led him to a papal audience in Rome with Pope Francis in 2018. But the open-air mass with Pope John Paul II at Auckland Domain more than 30 years before remains a highlight of his life.
It really awakened in me two things: an evaluation of my faith, which I've kept going, and also it awakened an interest in my culture. Sort of never really felt an affinity with the Polish culture. It was just sort of something different. We had a funny surname, but it meant a lot more than that after this visit, because this visit pulled people together. Even though I was a Catholic and sort of had almost what you might say a right to be there, and the same like being a Polish Catholic having a right to be there, it was just so special to be there and to be part of the group that was involved with the dance, wear the national costume and things. I know it sounds maybe a bit tokenist, but to me it was very special. I felt very privileged to be there.
Michael Yarker was speaking to Jen Dale. Pope John Paul II crisscrossed the globe during his papacy and remains the only pontiff to have visited New Zealand. Paulina Guzik is international editor at the Catholic wire service OSB. So what was it, Paulina, about John Paul II that made him want to be a pontiff who went out to so many countries?
Well, I think that the primary reason was, of course, in the Catholic Church, means the sending of the Holy Spirit. And Holy Spirit is someone who enlightens the world and someone who brings change to the world and to nations of this world. So John Paul II really brought this change, and I think the pivotal moment was Mass at Victory Square, what was then Victory Square, and today it's Piłsudski Square in central Warsaw, where he said, "Do not be afraid," and asked the Holy Spirit to renew the face of the earth, the face of this land. So he highlighted for the Poles that they are capable of changing their country, but bringing the gospel message to the country, he urged Poles to change, but to change the country peacefully.
And when Pope John Paul II died in 2005, I remember being in St. Peter's Square in Rome. Hundreds of thousands of people poured into Rome, and it was noticeable how young so many of them were, which reflects, if you like, a generation of Catholics' legacy.
I think he left a generation of people who not only believed he was a saint, but they believed he changed their lives. And I think it's a recollection of many people across the planet that he just changed their own fate, but also the fate of their countries. And it's not only a case of Poland, because of course what started with June 1979 and subsequently starting Solidarity movement, but it also affected countries. Absolutely. I think that he was a messenger of peace, and not only peace in terms of no war, but of peace in terms of dialogue. We remember very well the Pope visiting the synagogue in Rome. We remember his meeting in Assisi. We remember his meetings with Muslim leaders. And I think those were, at a time, it also brought scandal. Like, how can the Pope do that? And I think that this scandal really turned out to more dialogue and pushing the boundaries for the peaceful message of, I want to dialogue with you. You are my brothers.
That's Paulina Guzik, international editor at the Catholic wire service OSV. Next, one of the defining events of the late 20th century, the fall of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of Germany. Jacqueline Payne takes us back to 1989, when the symbolic collapse of communism took the world completely by surprise and paved the way for East and West Germany to become one country again in less than a year.
It's the evening of the 9th of November 1989, and at checkpoints along the Berlin Wall, East German border guards are overwhelmed by crowds of people after a government official mistakenly announces the lifting of all travel restrictions.